All right, welcome to the second virtual owners meetup. If you missed the first one, it's up on our YouTube channel. This session will be recorded and shared for your viewing pleasure after we finish up this hour. So I'm Maddi, the Director of Communications and a spokesperson for RVShare. I'll be today's panel moderator. Joining me are a few RV owners who list their vehicles on RVShare. So today we'll cover a variety of topics. There's a lot that goes into running an RV rental business, and we hope to find the information shared in today's conversation super useful. If you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A form, and we'll get to some of those at the end of the webinar. First, I'd like to introduce you to Mike. Mike is based in Denver. Mike, tell us a little about yourself and your business.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. Appreciate the opportunity to be a panelist, and hopefully we can share some information that folks find helpful. My name is Mike Douglas. I'm with a company called Go Homeport, and Go Homeport is building a national portfolio of RV storage facilities around the country to service all of the RV customers' aftermarket needs. So safe and secure storage, on-site maintenance, and most relevantly for this call, RV rentals. We do that through a company we call Go Homeport Rentals. And we started that about a year ago in Northern Colorado. We started with the storage customers at our facility. We've since branched out to surrounding areas. We're a full service management company. So we're a solution for folks that want to rent out their RVs and make money, but don't want to do any of the work. And so we list it, we market it, we field inquiries from customers, we handle the pickups and the drop-offs, and then we send a check to the RV owners each month. We got about 30 RVs today, everything from your luxury Class A's to your vans, Class C's, trailers, fifth wheels, so a little bit of everything. We got a variety of owner types. Some folks are doing it themselves and then realized, they didn't want to put as much time into it as they were, and so entrusted us. We have some storage customers that bought into the value proposition of just earning money on an asset that was otherwise sitting, and wanted us to do the work. And then we've got a growing base of investors that are buying, 3 to 5 RVs and turning them over to management with us. So we're growing quickly. We're adding a few a week. We hope to be around 100 RVs by the end of the year. We're growing our team accordingly. We are looking to expand to other markets, hopefully some warm weather markets, so we can move our Colorado assets down to a Vegas or a Phoenix and help our customers continue to make money throughout the year. And again, thanks for including me. Hopefully we can share some helpful information, and feel free to reach out if I can be of service. So thanks, Maddie.
Thanks, Mike. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Lewis and Robin. They're RVShare owners from Royal City, Washington. Lewis and Robin, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your rental business.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. We hope to grow up and be like Mike, because that's amazing. But we run a much smaller operation. It's just the two of us, and we have 4 units right now, 3 that we own and 1 that's consignment with another owner. And we got started. We've only been doing this for about a year now, so we are humbled to even have been asked to be on this panel. But we got started just as a way to make a little money on, like Mike said, on a unit that otherwise was going to just be sitting and doing nothing. And then we had a return renter ask for a rental on a weekend that we already had the one we had rented out. So we're like, well, we better get another one, because apparently this is going to work. And so, yeah, it's grown from there, and we hope to continue adding units as the years go by.
Yeah, and I work full time. So for those that are kind of just getting started, I work full time. I have a full time plus job. My wife's been a stay at home mom for a few years. Well, geez, I think since our marriage, for a long time. Yeah, so we've got 5 kids. We stay pretty busy and active, and a lot of navigating, a lot of communicating, and it's been fun so far.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. So we have a lot of new owners tuning in. For many, this is their first summer listing. What are your tips to getting started? Mike, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say, just, do a good job, do it with your listing, be accurate, set realistic expectations. There's a market for all different types of RV. You just want to set realistic expectations with your listing, your pictures, the better you can do with your pictures as far as them being at campsites or, being attractive, the better. Be organized. Checklists are certainly your friend. You want to inventory everything you've got on board, make sure you have a consistent process for going through things, and then, have a trusted maintenance provider. I mean, these things do break, and, you want to have a solution to get it back on the road quickly, both so you can make money and also you don't want to have to cancel reservations and adjust somebody's vacation plans. So, have that relationship, and then just be prepared to put in the time. You want to have the time to do a thorough walkthrough and check in. You want to have the time to answer questions. People are going to text or call you, when they get to the campsite and set up, they're going to forget something that you went through. So just be prepared to invest the time, but, just stay organized is the best, I guess, advice I could give.
Yeah, and for Robin and Lewis, how long have you guys been listing on RVShare, and what have you learned over the different seasons in which you've been listing and renting?
So this is we're going on our first year. Yeah, July. I think the end of July is when we started, and we stayed pretty booked out when we first listed our first RV. I wanted to purposely go through a very hard winter with our RVs so that I can learn like the ins and the outs of what that looks like, right? Do these Arctic packages really mean what they say, right? And yeah, there were some repairs and certain things we had to do, but I wanted to really feel it, go through it so that I can talk with integrity to a customer who's renting it during those times. And what we're finding is, obviously the summertime is super busy, right? That's the camping season. And even towards the end of September, October, we have a lot of football festivals that we're getting a lot of rentals for WSU, Pullman, and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see the different kind of fluctuations of from a campsite full hookups to a bunch of boondocking to festivals. We also live by the Gorge Amphitheater. So for literally from Labor Day, Memorial Day to Labor Day, I mean, we're every weekend we're taking 2 to 3 campers there.
To the gorge.
Yeah, to the gorge. So yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. And to add on to that, when you do have different types of events that people want to travel to, football games, all of that kind of things, do you guys, vet the renters and do you have any stipulations on what type of events you want them to take your RVs to?
Yeah, our philosophy has changed on that as time has gone by. When we first started, we were very apprehensive about letting them go to festivals or any kind of boondocking, anything like that. The main reason was that we just didn't have a lot of experience with it. So we weren't sure how to walk people through what to do or how to problem solve while they were out there or anything like that. But after we had our first rental at a concert, we were like, you know what, this really isn't that bad. And it's not a big deal. So now we just make sure that people know this is what you need to be. We set realistic expectations for them. You're not going to be plugged into shore power. That means it's going to get hot and you're probably not going to be as comfortable as you think you're going to be in an RV. Yeah. And so as long as we do a good job of setting realistic expectations for the renters, everyone has been happy. So it's been, Yeah,
I like to spend time to really walking them through the potential emotions that they're going to be feeling while they're staying there. Some of them are, first time renters, or they're probably even second time. They don't even realize that, your shower is only going to be 6 gallons of semi-warm water, and it's going to be quick. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. And just to, like my wife said, make sure they understand what they're getting themselves into. But then to make it an enjoyable experience, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, there's a lot of educating that goes into this business, and I think that's super important. So for Mike, like, you have so many different rentals and lots of different people hitting the road all week long. How do you manage that? And what are some things that you guys make sure that your renters are equipped with before they hit the road?
Yeah, we just try to give them a very consistent experience. So we, timely answer their questions, anything on the setup. We do a thorough job on walking them through the RV, showing them everything outside, everything that's in the underbelly, kind of storage compartments, how all the appliances work, we make sure they have a list of everything that's included. So if there's something that's not included, they can bring it. Most of our listings do have linens and towels, cookware, plateware, hoses. A lot of them have camping chairs or grills as well. So we just make sure they have an accurate list. And then, we make sure they have, our numbers, so they can call us, especially that first night. Once they get set up, you kind of want to check in, make sure you're available to answer their phone calls. But yeah, we just, try to make sure they're set up for success, and then answer their calls when they call.
Yep. And that's great for post or pre-trip, but then there's also post-trip where of course you're wrapping things up and accidents do happen and things can go missing, etc. So we got a lot of questions about security deposits. What's your philosophy on security deposit, and how do you handle that with your rentals? Mike, you can go first.
Sure, I can go first. Yeah, we do require a security deposit for all of our rentals. It's kind of that 80-20 game. Really, 80 to 90% of the people are great. They're just looking to have a fun weekend away with their kids or their family, a nice relaxing camping trip, and they'll bring it back spotless. And then you've got some folks that maybe aren't quite as respectful, and you do want to have the recourse to be able to pay for that extra cleaning, or they didn't bring it back, with the tanks empty, to be able to empty the tanks and get some recoupment for that. So we do charge a security deposit in all of our rentals. It also gives our owners some peace of mind that if something does happen, we're going to take care of it. But it's really a small percentage of the time where somebody breaks something or damages something. And honestly, most of the time they're pretty honest about what they've done. They're good people out there, and like, hey, I broke the hinge on the door, sorry about that. And we just get it fixed, and we charge them for it, and we go on our way, and everybody's happy. So we do charge a security deposit in our rentals for that reason.
Robin and Lewis, anything to add to that point?
Yeah, we definitely charge security deposits on all of our rentals, and we haven't had much issues with having to keep. I just recently requested to replace some chairs. They got stolen.
Or disappeared
somehow. And but yeah, we definitely require it. On our Class C, we have $1,000. On our travel trailers are $500, and that's pretty good. You know what I mean, as far as what what could break or anything like that. I've had to do some just personal repairs on our units, stuff like that, but yeah, for the most part, we haven't had to deal with that a whole lot. But I think it is important, and I don't think it's too much to ask. Every one of ours has been really understanding of the deposit, and
yeah, renters expect it. As a new owner, I personally was really like, ooh, we're going to ask them for $500 in addition to the rental price to have that tied up. And that felt like a big ask for me. But the renters expect to pay a deposit, and they totally understand why. And then I guess I want to say one other thing about deposits, because that can be something that you feel uncomfortable with, asking for a large sum of money as a deposit. But what we've found is that if you don't ask for the larger numbers, you end up getting renters that aren't going to respect your property the way that they should, and they aren't going to take as good of care and return it in as good of condition as the ones that are like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
we totally get it.
So yeah, that's part of the vetting process, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Those are great tips. So for those joining us, welcome. You can submit your Q&A in the dashboard below. We'll answer a few of those at the end. We are also recording, and we'll share this recording afterwards. So if you missed the introduction, Mike owns an RV company that does a lot of consignment. So Mike, can you explain to us what that is, how it works, and why it might be a pro for some of these owners?
Sure. Yeah. So we operate Go Home Port Rentals, and basically there's a whole slew of folks out there that want to make supplemental income on their trailers, but maybe working a full-time job, or maybe live far from their storage facility or whatever, and just don't have the time to put into what it takes. And we offer them a way to do that. And so they list with us. We manage it for them. We handle all the work, and then we send them a check for their share every month. So, it's a good way to make supplemental income without having to put all the all the legwork into it. And a good way to ease into it, or if you want to scale faster, it's a way to do that as well, because we can operate at scale and take on additional assets pretty quickly.
Great. And Liz and Robin, you guys said you have started with one RV about a year ago. You now have more than one. How did you take that to the next level? How did you go from one RV, decide to invest in another one, and kind of get that ball rolling?
I'll answer that. I'm more of the entrepreneurial, kind of mindset. So after that,
He likes to do stuff.
So after we listed that first one, and literally I want to say within the first 24 hours,
I mean, it was within 5 minutes.
We got a rental when I first listed it. So, and I think it was right in the middle of summer. There was probably some concerts coming up because that was the first couple of rentals we got. And we were booked out, I want to say, till the end of September, October. And in my mind started thinking, okay, and I'm sure Mike probably thought this too, right? If you're going to make a certain amount of money, man, what if you duplicated this over 3 to 4 different types of units, and how much? And then we started thinking about how much can we actually handle between the two of us? And, with me working my full-time job, her kind of doing this part-time, like, how can we handle this? So that was kind of the thought process and the mindset that we took. And what we found is the bunkhouse type RV. I'm sure a bunch of others rent, but we have found a lot of success with the bunkhouse type, that sleeps 6 to 8. So we just decided to get another one. And then in the process of doing that, we found another one that we really, really like, kind of for our own personal rig. And and we were like, okay, this is a bunkhouse. This sleeps actually 8 to 10. This would be a great unit to rent. And then we can also use this for our personal rig. And that's just kind of how it got started. And we've kind of stuck with that same type of floor plan and doing the bunkhouses. And a lot of people we've gotten a lot of positive responses from it. And we've kind of just fed off of that.
Yeah. And ultimately it was supply and demand for us. We were getting lots of requests for rentals and didn't have anything to offer. So we're like, well, we can get another one. We can add another one.
So do you only have travel trailers in your?
3 travel trailers and a Class C motorhome.
Yeah, classic.
Okay. And you mentioned that you bought one for your own personal use. We did have a question as if you guys have RVs that you rent, and if you have one that you use personally. Is that true today, or do you rent them all at this point?
So
theoretically it's true, but they're all available for rent. So we don't have any that we don't rent out. Yeah.
I would say our favorite one now is probably the Motorhome. We did get a Grand Design. It's beautiful. We love it. It's got like theater massage seats and leather seats and all this stuff. But the Motorhome, just for us as our family, we've got 3 little ones that come traveling with us. So it's a lot better for them to kind of hang out in the back and play games and keep themselves occupied, rather than sitting in a truck while you're hauling that RV down the road.
And do you both deliver? That's a big question we got. At RVShare, we're actually seeing a third of RV rentals being delivered, and it's a huge amenity that people are looking for, and it's growing really quickly. So if people don't currently offer delivery, it's probably something they should consider. So what do you guys see as the pros to delivery, and how do you manage that schedule and just making sure that people also respect your time?
It's a good question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mike.
Go ahead. Go, please.
Mike's probably got a crew. As far as us, the first tip I would say is really sit down. If you're a couple, sit down as a couple and go, okay, can we handle, delivering 1 to 2 to 3, potentially, more units? And what does that look like, right? You're literally talking sacrificing some nights, some mornings, because check-ins sometimes can be a little bit later, checkouts can be a little bit earlier, right? And really navigating that through your guys' kind of schedule and going, okay, can we actually make this work? And I think one of the important things as a couple is just having a real, concise communication idea of what that looks like, because we ran into some issues, in the beginning. We were like, well, honey, I'm working. I need you to go do this.
I thought you were doing this one.
And if you're not organized that way, then you definitely are going to run into some problems. And it's just frustrations. You're going to get frustrated with this whole business and go, gosh, it's just not working or whatever, when in all reality, it's, so one of the things we try to do is we come together like on a Sunday and we huddle up and we go, okay, what do we got going on this week? And we just kind of go through our schedule for the week. and we plan out our week and what that looks like. And the other thing too, as far as our attitude goes, is you just got to be really adaptable. Things are going to happen. You know, we had to actually run and replace an RV this last Sunday because I think the inverter's going out. We've got to look at
There's
that.
an issue.
Yeah, there's an issue. It was 90 degrees and the AC went out and everything was just going out. So we're like, well, we've got one available. We'll swap that out and take care of the customer. And you just got to be adaptable. You got to go with it with a good attitude. And I think if you kind of find the wrong in everything, you're going to just be frustrated with this. If you try to find the positives, it's going to be fun. And that's what we try to do is make it an enjoyable experience, because that energy can really kind of go into your renters and they're just like, oh man, these guys are upset or mad, you know, and you don't want that. You want them to have a good experience so that they keep coming back.
Yeah, Mike, before I let you answer too, there was a question about if you're considering the surcharge for gas when delivering and if that works into your pricing at all. So maybe touch on that too.
Sure, yeah, and I think Lewis and Robin said it well. I mean, it's more logistics to manage, it is, but it also is going to increase your utilization and kind of your reach. So it's a capability we're looking to expand. We just did a festival this past weekend. We had 5, and you know, we probably wouldn't have got the festival if we didn't deliver to it and set everything up. So it definitely expands your possibilities if you're open to delivery. Gas prices are going up, you know, so it cost us more to do that, and we factored that into our delivery rates. You know, typically we have a minimum and then a per mileage based kind of delivery fee. We kind of work through a network. We have some employees, but a network of contractors for that today. So expanding those services over time. You know, but basically it's just mileage based. To answer your question, Maddi, on gas is how much it's going to cost, and then you know we try to make a small amount on top of that, but at least break even.
Yeah, the other question was like, how do you price delivery? So you do it per mile?
Yeah, I think we typically have like a $200 minimum and then a per mileage base on top of that. That'll make sure we can get somebody to do it, and then make sure we cover our costs on gas.
The other thing to that point, Maddi, I wanted to add was, so at the gorge, like a lot of times you're sitting in line for 2 hours to deliver a camper, right? So for us, we have a set, even though it's only about 20-25 minutes from us, it's a set $200. Like it's, you know, we may or may not be there for an hour or two, but even though that's kind of, you know, considered a higher charge for delivery for the amount of mileage that we're running. We feel it's fair, and we haven't had one person balk at it at all. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody's pretty much, I don't want to do it. So, yeah.
Convenient.
Yeah, well, and on that, we were concerned that people weren't going to be wanting to do as many rentals and different things because of gas prices this year. And we have not noticed at all a slowdown in people renting, or people, they've been just really understanding of like, okay, gas is expensive. The delivery is going to cost more for the person bringing it. So that makes sense. Yeah. Yep.
And I didn't have, I mean, I shouldn't, I mean, it was just one of those things where some of them got booked like last year, and in our area in Washington, and we're close to $6 a gallon, right? So it really dramatically jumped, and I had to really go, okay, as the business owner, right? I don't want to go back and say, hey, I know I charged you one thing in the beginning, but I had to go back to a couple of them because I was like, man, I'm going to be losing money here. And as a business owner, I just asked them, I said, hey, would you consider, you know, being that the gas prices are way high right now, would you consider us, you know, resending this quote? And some of them, I actually just told them, I said, hey, I'm going to have to requote this because of the cost of gas. Nobody batted an eye. Everybody was very understanding. So that's something I would tell a new renter. Don't be afraid. This is your business. Remember, you can run it the way you want to run it. And sure, a customer might be upset, but at the end of the day, we're the ones who are going out there spending the money, you know, putting our renters out there and all that stuff. So don't be afraid to ask.
Right. And since we're on pricing, we have a lot of questions just about like how you price your RV. Of course, you're both in different parts of the country and seasonality matters too. But Mike, do you have any advice on how people can really look to consider what they should be charging a nightly rate?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot of RVs on RVShare. You can kind of look at a similar RV and see what other folks are pricing it. There's, you know, some analytics tools behind the scene once you get a number of bookings to kind of see how you're priced against competition, but you'll generally find some ranges for, each RV type. Your class A's, that if it's a brand new one, you might get $350 to $500 a night. A class C is going to be in that $300 to $400 a night. The trailers, might be $150 to $200. But it's really, there's like I said at the beginning, there's a market for all different types. You just want to make sure you're priced competitively and you've set realistic expectations. So just go on and see some similar ones, and you can kind of test the waters and price it and see how it's doing. If you're not getting bookings, and maybe drop it a little bit, or if it's booking up quickly, maybe you raise your prices a little bit. So it's been a little bit of trial and error, but we've kind of developed some kind of ranges that we can justify that our owners are comfortable with. And then here in Colorado, we really have May through September that's hot for us. And then it goes to winter, and we'll drop our prices 30 to 40% if the RVs go out winterized. In the winter, you got to be a little bit more selective with your screening and see where people are going and that sort of thing. But that's kind of how we price. We have a guideline, but it's just we go on and we see what's competitive and how it's doing, and then we adjust accordingly.
Another question we had was, what type of amenities do you provide? Mike, you touched a little bit on this at the beginning, but Robin and Lewis, what kind of, do you have linens, plates, cookware, all of that in your RVs, and what's available to each renter?
We get this question a lot on our YouTube channel. We, just for our own sanity, like all of our are camp ready, all of our travel trailers, even our motorhome, camp ready with everything that you're going to need to go camping. We're literally, the renter has to bring their own food and clothes, and we've got everything. And the reason why we do that is when in the beginning we were constantly going, God, did we pack this? Did we pack that? And then we had a lot of renters asking us, do you guys provide this? Do you provide that? So we just decided to put it in the description, provide everything. And honestly, when you're looking at costs, you can find a lot of this stuff at Walmart pretty cheap. You know what I mean? It's better than a paper plate, but it's it's $1.50 plate, and you can just really supply a family of 5 with everything that they're going to need to go camping.
Yeah, we've toyed with the idea of charging extra for linens or pillows or all the rest of the stuff. But it ended up in the end that it was more of a hassle for us to, again, go through the checklist. Okay, what did they ask for?
Yeah. Versus
just having everything is in there, and we have a little bit higher base nightly rate,
right? Because
everything's included.
Right.
Yep. Mike, what about you? Have any other things to add there?
Yeah, we have kind of a consistent minimum. So your plateware, your cutlery, your cookware, the hoses for fresh water, the tools to be able to dump. That's kind of like our standard. And then, depending on what else is included, may affect our pricing. But we'll include linens and towels on some of our luxury assets. Some have camping chairs or a grill or something. We'll just put it all in the description so people know exactly what they're getting. And we found if we set those expectations, one, we can avoid a lot of questions on the back and forth on what's included, but then there's no surprises when people show up and say, oh, I thought this was going to be there or not. It's like, we do it, try to do a good job up front of setting expectations.
There's a question that, do you kind of set everything up, like make the beds and all that, or is it just provided for them to kind of outfit themselves once they either pick up the unit or arrive at the drop-off location?
Yeah, I can go first. For the ones where we include linens and towels, we'll, more of our luxury assets, we'll make the beds for them. We have a cleaning crew that comes through and kind of cleans everything just like you would a hotel room or something. Makes the bed and puts the towels up, puts the extra ones away, and it's kind of a nice surprise and delight type thing. But for some of our kind of our base models, we may not make the beds if linens are included. We may give them an extra set or something. But we try, like I said, we just try to set expectations in the listing.
Yeah, I would say same. We have beds made on everything except for in the motorhome, the bed is on a slide. And so making the bed doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense. We just make sure that they have clean linens in there for that.
Great. And Mike, do you rent out travel trailers or well, or what does your inventory look like in terms of the type of units that you have?
Yeah, good question. So we have a little bit of everything. So anything from a nice, luxury class A, we've got vans, class C's, we've got trailers, we've got fifth wheels. So, a mix of everything. I'd say we're about 50-50 drivables and towables today. So that's kind of how our inventory mix, looks. The towables, you can rent, the drivables you can rent for a little bit more. It's a little bit more beginner friendly to folks, but the trailers have a market too. Like we were talking about before, the more you can do deliveries, the more that market opens up for you. But we've had success with them all. Fifth wheels are probably you have to have a solution for that. This takes a specific hitch, and so you have to have a specific relationship to be able to tow those. But they're nice, if you can find the solution to be able to tow it to two people.
Yeah, that was a question that we got. How do you vet the different renters for their towing capabilities?
Yeah, we just asked them some questions up front. So RVShare, obviously has great tools to be able to screen renters on their, identity and driving history and stuff like that. But we ask them where they're going. We ask them what their experience is towing, and we just have that conversation up front, so we kind of know what we're getting. So just especially with towables, you want to have a little bit more in-depth conversation on what the experience is. What if they're picking it up, what vehicle they have. You want to make sure their GVRW is adequate, so they can tow the size trailer that you have, if they've got the right ball size. A lot of our trailer owners leave their hitch, so we don't necessarily have to worry as much about a hitch and sway bars and a size ball, that sort of thing. They just leave it in the underbelly of the trailer, then we hook it up, put it in the truck. We just want to make sure it's rated appropriately to be able to tow it.
Yeah, about 90% of our rentals are deliveries. And so we haven't had to do a lot of vetting when it comes to towing capacity. What are you driving? Where are you going? That kind of stuff, which creates a lot of peace of mind for me. And because I always know that the person driving it knows what they're doing. But yeah, we do same as Mike. We ask a lot of questions up front. If someone's wanting to pick it up, we just make sure that they know what they're doing. They understand what it means for them to come pick it up and all of that. And then, do all the walkthrough stuff when they're picking it up instead of when it's getting set up.
And a couple of small things too, like letting them know if they need fresh water filled up. That's going to add quite a bit of weight, right? Even
just camping experience, because a lot of people maybe are renting a camper and it's their first time they've ever even gone out in one, and so they don't think about water.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking, what is the most popular? So do you guys see your drivables doing better than your travel trailers? Of course, again, it's probably very regional based, but do you see a difference? And then also, if I think people are asking because if they are looking to maybe buy their second RV, which direction should they lean?
Yeah, I think some of it depends on your price point, but the nice class B's and class C's, they'll rent all summer long. We're not worried. They'll rent for $400 a night 80-90% of the time, so you get a nice return on that. If you're at a lower price point and you get the trailer, like Lewis said, the bunkhouses do great. The more it sleeps, or the easier it is to tow. Those are kind of the rules of thumb that I give folks that are looking to get a second or third RVs. Class B or class C is going to rent all summer long for a higher price point. Trailer, the more it sleeps or the easier it is to tow, the better it's going to do. That's what I found.
Yeah, same here. We've got 3 bunkhouses. Well, essentially 4. The class C is got a kind of a bunk in it. But we found that they're really popular, and also for us too, like that whole mindset of who's renting the RV, right? For the majority, it's a family of 4 or 5, and they're going to take care of it. They might have little ones, right? But they're going to take care of it. They're going to treat it right and with respect,
We get a lot of questions about seasonality. For most of us in this business, this does affect us. And how do you guys deal with seasonality? And what do you do in the off months to kind of keep your business moving?
There are still rentals. I mean, we're in Colorado, so we get different weather than somebody if they were in Florida or somewhere else. But we do most of our business from May through September. But we still have decent utilization. Somebody wants to take a ski trip, and they might be willing to take it winterized and just stay at a campsite or something like that. We did a festival that was just housing staff, a place to warm up during the day. So there is a market in the winter. That being said, as a company, we're starting to invest in some warm weather properties. And so we hope to be able to move some of our Denver assets down to Phoenix or Vegas, in the winter for owners that are open to it, and help them make money kind of all year round. But, it's for the units that are going to stay in Colorado, and, what we did last year, we dropped the price a little bit. I think it was, around 40% for our drivables, around 30% for our trailers. If we send them out winterized. If somebody wants to de-winterize it themselves, that we are open to doing that for reservations, but we have to be a little bit more selective on screening. They got to know what they're doing. They got to be going somewhere warm that's going to stay warm for the duration of their trip. So you just have to do a little bit more vetting up front if somebody's going to take it in the winter where it's snowy or icy, that sort of thing. Otherwise, you could be dealing with some real maintenance issues when you get back. So you have to be really careful.
For us, it's a little unique. We're right in the center of, world-renowned fishing and hunting, and then we've got the Gorge Amphitheater, and then we've got festivals. So we're like central in the middle of just about everything, right? So for us, it's you've got the concert season. Summertime, you've got a ton of stuff up north. Hundreds of camping sites up there. And then when it starts getting colder, we get a lot of those calls for cougar games and festivals and stuff like that they're going to. So I had a 45-day rental during the wintertime for one. It was an insurance claim, So it's for sure. I think this year we're planning on shutting down. I think November, December, and probably even part of January, because we got a really rough winter last year, and we had like 8 to 10 degree weather during that Christmas week. And we have Leavenworth. I don't know if you guys have heard of Leavenworth up in Washington, but it's a great place for the holidays that a lot of people fly into, and they like to spend some time there. Well, we had 2 rentals that had to cancel that week because it was just too cold. Yeah, way too cold. So
so like we talked about before, we experimented with winter this last year and determined that it's not our thing, and we're not excited about continuing to rent through the winter. But for us, we have a slightly longer fair weather season. So we start more like mid-March and can go all the way through the end of October before we start seeing weather that's not fun to camp in.
Yeah.
So we touched on this a bit. Last question before we move into our Q&A portion, but what do you guys do to prepare your first-time renters? Do you provide like a handbook of sorts or any type of materials for them to review, just so they feel prepared for their trip?
We do have a manual in the RVs and a small booklet with some some tips. A couple of our RVs, there's some good. We haven't created any content yet. That's kind of on our roadmap, but we may link to somebody else who's created the content, doing an RV walkthrough, something like that. So we do. The more information you can leave, and the more digestible it is, the better people seem to do, and the less questions you might get in the middle of the night when somebody's trying to figure out how to work a microwave or something. So the more you can do, the better it will be for them and you.
Yeah. Mike brought up a big point. Our YouTube channel, About Our RV Life. We put a lot of videos together that it just really helps us save time. If a person's wondering how to dump, like, we can send them a video for that, right? They can watch that video, and we don't have to really walk them through. In the beginning, though, what we do is we do spend a ton of time just making sure that they understand. It's always important too, if you can, try to get the couple together. We had a scenario in the beginning there where the husband's like, oh, yep, okay. And literally the wife's like, nothing worked. I was upset. I was cold. And we're like, oh, you didn't talk to each other. So try to do that. and just really help them understand the basics and simplicity of it. One of our campers, we've got some labels, you know, that also helps and stuff like that. But getting it set up for them, so where literally we've got, you know, their pooper tube hooked up and all their electricity hooked up and their water hooked up to where they don't have to even mess with it. And we even turn on the water heater for them and show them where that's at, and then make sure they know where the propane's at, and you know.
Right. So for us, it's mostly deliveries. So we're
Yeah.
doing all the setup and walkthrough, and we do the hookups and we do the tear down. And so they just need to know how to turn water on
Yeah.
and off and that sort of thing.
And then to answer your question, one of them, we do have a folder. We don't feel like they really go through it, so we stopped doing that. And we let them know where the owner's manual is, but also we're very available. It's our
we make
business.
ourselves super available.
So if they've got
Like-
questions, we're always there to help them and get back to them in a timely manner.
Great. Thank you guys. So for our, oh, it looks like Joseph might be joining. He was another owner that we had that was possibly going to join us today. But okay, we're moving into our Q&A portion. So the top question that we've had come up, including from Tim and Barry, is what size deposit do you ask for? Is it $500? Is it $1,000? We talked about this at the beginning of the webinar, but they're looking for a number. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be lovely.
Yeah, it sounded like from what, I'm sorry, Robin, from what Robin and Lewis had said, I think we're pretty close on what we do. So we do also do $500 as a general rule for our travel trailers, between $1,000 and $1,200 for our drivables, and as much as $2,000 for our, our luxury class A. So it's kind of based a little bit on, how nice not how nice, but how much the value, how much the asset is worth.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the general rule, is about $500 for trailers and about $1,000 depending on the drivable.
Yeah, we have one at our Grand Design is at $750. But yeah, 500.
Yeah, making sure that you can either cover the cost of simple repairs with the deposit, or at least cover the deductible if it's going to be something big. You want to make sure you're covering your own costs.
Yeah.
Great. So this is a question for Mike. Mike, what kind of rate should owners expect to pay a management company to rent their RV for them?
It depends on the type of asset and how many that you have, but it's anywhere between 40 and 60% of your revenue, depending on kind of the other factors.
Thank you. So we have again a lot of new timers on here, maybe people who are even just starting to consider this and don't have an RV listed. What type of time commitment can they expect to listing maybe just one RV to start?
Yeah, with one, it was very minimal. You're looking at whatever your cleaning time is going to be, and then if you're delivering, whatever the time is going to be for that. So managing the listing is like, it's a one-time shot, right? You put it up, you set everything up, and just make sure it looks nice so that people are attracted to it. And then you don't really have to deal with that again. Communicating with potential renters is probably
I do the majority of that, and it's not much. It's we're always on our phones nowadays anyway, right? So it's just a matter of getting back to someone and answering a question, creating quotes. Yeah, it's not that tough to do.
It's a matter of whether or not you want to, I think. If it's something you want to do, spend some time to make a little extra money. It doesn't feel like it's any time at all.
Yeah.
If you're not excited about doing it, it's going to feel like a burden and a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So
but to answer the question, we're probably talking maybe 5 to 10 hours a week extra, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
That's helpful.
I think it depends on your situation, like how far you live from your storage facility. If you got it at your house, it's one thing. If you're 2 hours from your storage facility, it's a different thing. You got to factor in all that travel time. I'd say about half our owners were doing it themselves, and then it was getting too busy for them. So, but so it just kind of depends on your situation, where you've got it stored, and what your job is, what your flexibility on your job is, because you're going to get inquiries at different times of the day. And if your schedule is a little bit more flexible, then maybe that's okay. If not, then, you might not be able to answer the questions in a timely fashion. So just totally depends on your situation.
Yeah.
Great. For Mike, what have you done to make your RVs winter/cold weather ready, rental ready?
Well, we winterize them, going into the winter. We haven't put Arctic packages. A couple of them do have Arctic packages, but we haven't added anything, aftermarket ourselves. But we're just a lot more selective on our rentals during the winter months. We haven't done anything special. We just add to kind of our vetting and see where people are going, what the weather's going to be, where they're going, what kind of experience they have. But we haven't done anything, I would say, special to do that. Going into this next year and future years, like I said, we're hoping to have the capabilities to move some of these assets to warm weather climates, to increase our earning season for our customers. But we haven't really done anything special other than, trying to procure some relationships around events and that sort of thing to help with our customers. But we try to vet a little bit better during the winter, but it is a little bit slower.
We had some questions on how do you handle long-term rentals? Do you welcome them? Have you had one in the past? What's a good way to vet a longer-term rental, maybe up to a month plus?
I'll speak for myself. I love long-term rentals. It's especially somebody that's going to drive it and take care of it. Less cleaning and turnarounds. I personally love long-term rentals. You want to vet and see what they're doing with it, but I am a fan of long-term rentals.
Us too. Yeah, it's less really like Mike was saying. I mean, less. You're really not worrying about it. You know what I mean? You're just okay. They've got it. It's there. And it's no. I don't have to worry about picking it up or navigating that for a while. We've had two of them. One was a pretty stressful situation for me that I put myself in. It was a long distance delivery on the other side of the mountains during the wintertime, and it was snowing, and it was pretty crazy. But so 45 days, once I got it there, it was great, and then when I had to go pick it up, it was fine. We had another one where the guy was looking for a place to live, and we let him rent it for 30 days. He was going to do it for probably 6 months. We had a 6-month lease that we had contracted up for him, and it was fine if he wanted to break it. I was totally okay with it. But after 30 days, he was like, yeah, and we did lower the price for him. So if it's somebody who's going to, take it and go camping and have fun with it, I mean, I love long-term rentals. It's great.
And I will say, not all of our assets would be available for long-term rentals because, the owners do want to use it themselves sometimes too. Some owners, it's an investment and they want to rent it out 100% of the time. Some owners want to use it twice a month, and we have it every other week or something like that. And so a long-term rental wouldn't work. So we just try to keep our calendar updated, so there's no confusion. There's no, that would be another tip I would say for getting started is keep your calendar up to date, whether you've got a trip or you're managing somebody else's RV. You don't want to have to cancel somebody's trip that booked for something like that. So, that's how we manage the different types of RVs that we have.
We touched on delivery a few times throughout this webinar, but it keeps coming up. People are really keen to start hopefully delivering. For you guys, can you give us any indication of maybe what the income potential is to deliver? And then also simple things like who finds and rents the site that you're delivering to?
Do you think they're asking about income potential from the delivery fees themselves?
I think delivery alone, which obviously could be a big chunk of the rental. If you're charging $200 and your rental is $1,000, I mean, that's a good percentage of an extra portion of income.
Yeah. I think for us, our focus isn't really on making money on the delivery. It's nice when it makes us a little bit extra, but for the most part, we're trying to cover our cost of delivering. And so we don't look at that necessarily as an income source. I totally just spaced the second part of your question.
It was who finds and rents the campsites or where you're delivering.
Yeah. And for us, it's always the renter. The
Yeah.
renter finds the campsites and then we just deliver and get it set up. And we actually had a conversation with a renter last year, because part of the reason why we started renting was that we bought a camper for ourselves and went to go find someplace to go, and like all of the campsites everywhere were full all summer long already. And so like, how are these people finding sites? So we just had a conversation with a renter, and she was like, we book them 6 months in advance and we worry about where we're going to stay after. Like we book the site and then we'll find a camper later, because finding the sites is the hard part. But they do all that on their own.
And to the making money part, so for the gorge, we just want to make sure that we're covered time wise and fuel wise and stuff like that. So yeah, we do, being that 70 to 75% of our rentals are to the gorge, we do make a little bit of money on it, but we try to just make very little money on it and not a ton on it,
It's not
especially right now. It's just gas prices are just so high.
Yeah, I have the same answer. We don't really treat delivery fees as a profit center. We just want to cover our costs. In a lot of cases, we're splitting rental revenues with our customers, and so we want to maximize that and at least just cover our costs on the deliveries. And same answer on the campsites. In a lot of cases, the renters are doing that themselves. They may ask us for suggestions, and we'll share with them our experience on campsites that have proven to do well for renters in the past. It's probably something that we'll look to expand our capabilities in, as far as partnerships with campsites and things, because it is campsites do book up, and so sometimes you may lose a trip because somebody can't find a place to stay. So if you do have those capabilities or relationships, it's going to help you. But they're doing the legwork today for us as well.
Right. Yeah. And there is a way to list the campgrounds you recommend on your listing. As a renter myself, I found that super helpful, because then I do know where the owner has delivered before, that it could probably be a really simple solution just to camp near where their RV is, and it would work well for all parties involved.
Yeah.
Next question from Carol. Do you recommend allowing pets? If so, what size or breeds of pets do you allow?
We talk to our owners to see what they're comfortable with. There's a lot of people, especially since the onset of COVID, that don't want to take their dogs on an airplane. So there's a whole market for RV travelers with dogs. Some of our RV owners say they're okay with dogs and not cats, for allergy purposes or preferences. So we just have that conversation, but I'd say most of our RVs allow at least dogs. And a fair number of travelers do come with their dogs. So it increases the people that you can market to if you're open to dogs. If that's something that you're not open to, then you can still rent your RV, but it just increases the number of people you can rent to.
Yeah, we do charge a fee for all of ours, and it's $50 to $60, I think. One thing that a gentleman here locally, he's got about 50 units and he's had his business for about 12 years, said that if you were to kind of look up in your area what it would cost to board the pet, and in some cases it's over $100 just to board the pet for a weekend, charge it. You know what I mean? And we didn't quite go there, but he made a good point that if you're going to leave your pet at home, you're typically going to board it, and it's going to cost you a little bit of money. So bringing it with you, yeah, I mean, we had one case, which is the only reason why we imposed a fee, where it was just a mess. But we were like, yeah, we need to probably charge for this. Just so
it seemed like maybe they groomed the dog while they were in the camper. It's wild.
So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you guys. So we have 5 minutes left. I kind of just wanted to wrap up maybe a few minutes each of just, talking any last tips you have for anyone listening, or anything that you have learned with renting on RVShare that you can share your knowledge with our viewers today.
Yeah, I can start. I guess my biggest tip would be have fun with it and be excited to help people create memories and do what they're doing. Because otherwise it seems like a chore. And when it seems like a chore, it's not fun for you. And that, like we talked about, that can come across to the renters. And if you don't seem like you're happy to be bringing them your property, then they're gonna perceive that, and they won't have as much fun either. So have a good time, stay organized, and yeah.
I'll say what I feel, this is just my opinion, what I feel the number one reason why we are gaining some momentum and got some success in a short amount of time is treat people right, treat them with respect, be honorable in those relationships that you're developing with these renters. That customer service, I feel like with generationally is just kind of getting lost, right? And if you treat these people right, if you really help them seek to understand, really help them kind of have a great experience, it could go a long way. And we've now started getting a lot of return renters. We had one we just literally dropped off 2 weeks ago, and she's reaching out to us again yesterday for another, down the road and stuff. And we've got, like I said, a lot of returns. So that's the biggest thing. Treat people with respect, treat them kind, be nice, smile, interact, with their kids while you're there getting things set up because they're so curious. I mean, have a good time with it.
I think that's all great advice. I mean, you're helping people make memories, and honestly, the customer service up front and just being receptive can, if something goes wrong on the road, that's going to go a long way towards whether somebody's upset with you or not. If they think that they know that you care about them, they're going to try to like help them however you can. So I think attitude's good. Organization, setting realistic expectations on your listing. Don't pretend it to be something that it's not. And just customer service. If somebody calls you, answer the phone, or if you miss the call them back, and that goes a really, really long way. And like Lewis said, the biggest compliment is when somebody comes back a second or third time to rent with you. That they had a good time. Those other times. So it's just have fun with it. I think that's good advice from Robin.
Well, thank you, Mike, Robin, and Lewis. You guys have shared some really great tips with us today. We appreciate your time. For those who we didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry, please fill out the survey after this Zoom webinar closes. You'll get it in your email. And at that point, feel free to add your question there if it didn't get answered or more that come to mind. We'll be sure to try to cover those in future webinars. Like I said, this is being recorded, so we will be sending that recording out to everyone to view at their leisure, and it'll also be up on YouTube. So thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Happy camping.